One of the first things a foreigner notices when entering the country is flags.
The beautiful
American
flag.
flags everywhere.
You know what, my friends? At this point, I'm starting to believe this flag. I need to buy one of those. You know, I'm not American, but it's so beautiful, and I will take care of that flag. Don't worry, my friends. Do you guys agree? The American flag is really beautiful. Leave a like if you agree with me. I'm not crazy to say this, right? Of course, you are patriotic, but put that aside. It's a beautiful flag. Usual things in the US that confuse non-Americans. My friends, I guess I can fact check those. But before I go into that, let me ask you for one thing. If you can leave a like, thank you so much. It's the best way to show support. Now, if you can subscribe, well, in that case, forget about it. You make my day. Have that in consideration. Link for the original video in my description, and let's play.
In some ways, the United States is a whole different world.
It's
totally
amazing.
different from every other place.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at what's normal there that baffles people from the outside.
Okay.
One of the first things a foreigner notices when entering the country is flags.
The beautiful
American
flag.
flags everywhere.
You know what, my friends? At this point, I'm starting to believe this flag. I need to buy one of those. You know, I'm not American, but it's so beautiful, and I will take care of that flag. Don't worry, my friends. Do you guys agree? The American flag is really beautiful. Leave a like if you agree with me. I'm not crazy to say this, right? Of course, you are patriotic, but put that aside. It's a beautiful flag.
On buildings like schools and houses, and on clothes like shorts, t-shirts, you name it.
Wait, what? Also in clothes? Wait, you can buy a jacket with the American flag? No chance that's possible.
Throughout history, Americans have changed 27 flags. The current American flag was only adopted in 1960 and is so far the longest-lasting flag of the country.
Because of the
It
stars?
wasn't created by the authorities, though. In 1958, there was a contest for a design of the new American flag, and the winning flag was made by a 17-year-old high school student from Ohio. The reason why Americans love their flag so much is national pride. But why not so many countries do the same? Well, some countries
Actually, there is some countries. Yeah, I was about to say this. I believe Nordic countries tend to be also very patriotic. But look, my country, I think I should not speak for my country to be fair, but at least putting flags out there happens more when the national soccer team plays. But as a European, I see nothing wrong with Americans, my friends, and I say this from the bottom of my heart. You guys are some of the best people I ever met, in this case online, but soon in person.
countries avoid displaying them for historical reasons. Other countries only raise the flag on
Wait, what was the argument? Historical reasons? Some type of guilt because of the past? That could make sense.
national pride. But why not so many countries do the same? Well, some countries avoid displaying them for historical reasons. Other countries only raise the flag on special occasions to highlight the importance of the event. Still, some countries display their flag as often as Americans do.
Oh,
In
Denmark.
Denmark, people are quite proud of their flag too. They decorate the winter holiday tree and birthday cakes with them.
So
And
cute.
you can always find stickers with Danish flags, red and white candles, and other goodies with the flag in a
Okay.
grocery store. People in Sweden are
Another
also very
one.
much into their flag and have flagpoles everywhere. Now, let's go to a restaurant, shall we? Many things there are very specific to the States.
Like what?
Like, for example, tons of ice in every drink. Turns out
crazy.
there is some history to this preference. America has always
Sorry, my friends, but this may sound a stupid question for you. But when I go to a restaurant or a coffee shop, I have to ask for ice. In America, do I have to ask for ice, or actually I have to ask to not have ice if I don't? You know what I'm trying to say? Basically, a lot of ice is the norm. Here is no ice is the norm. Am I explaining myself well? I hope so. English, not my main language, my friends. Basically, let's refocus. So, when I go to America, should I ask for ice, or they will laugh at me? Of course there will be ice. Can you explain that?
had a lot of ice as a resource, since New England's lakes and rivers have a lot of those during winter. Centuries ago, before refrigerators and other helpful cooling machines, that kind of cold resource was very valuable, and the states started exporting ice to other parts of the world. And also, of course, consuming it themselves. They started to put ice in their hot drinks, in contrast to the British, who were always drinking their beverages hot. The ice in the drinks has become an American thing, and it was also considered a rich person's drink. Yep, the ice would also show a person's status. Of course, with time, when refrigerators appeared, ice became available to everyone. And Americans started...
It's normal to have that machine in the fridge to make ice, my friends, in America, or is something that is still, it's not that common as this type of videos tend to make. Having an ice machine, how common it is. You know what, actually, leave me a comment if you have one, or if you don't want to leave me a comment, leave me a like. That way I would assume that ice machines are actually more common than, what I was thinking.
To add it to their drinks commonly. The habit remained, but also ice drinks are very refreshing, which is especially important in the hot south of the country.
And the thing is, okay, I kinda get this, the ice thing still blows me away, because I get that you guys like ice, nothing wrong with that. When it's very hot, and if you live in Texas, New Mexico, I know those places get crazy hot. I get all of that. But what about if you live in Montana? Is having ice also common? Because Montana is cold.
But if you come from abroad and don't want your drink freezing cold, always specify it to the waiter. The next striking thing is the huge portions that are served, and there's a reason for that too. It wasn't always like this, but in the second half of the last century, due to pesticides and fertilizers, farmers started to be able to grow more food than they used to. The government caught on, subsidizing them to grow even more food. So...
Wait, I believe that's true, of course, but this is not a great argument, because this ended up happening in the entire world, not just in America.
The amount of available food increased. Over time, companies started to increase the sizes of their portions.
Really?
Why serve less food and get less money if you can serve a bit more and also charge more? That's good for business, and it's a win-win. Customers get more food for just a little bit more money. So, larger portions stuck. Okay, now we need to take a little toilet break. And, surprisingly, there are a lot of foreigners who find American toilets.
How are we going to talk about this crazy gap? I mean, to be honest, this is not even that bad. The vertical gap, and those are not American, right? But you guys see some videos that have a vertical gap right there. This looks European, never mind. I was about to say crazy gap, this is normal.
It's weird. First, what's up with those huge gaps in bathroom stalls? Let's start with the more obvious part, gaps on the bottom of the doors. Those are quite common, even outside the US, and they serve several purposes. First, you can see if there's a person inside without trying to
to be honest, this is a big gap. The other one was quite more normal.
Break into an occupied stall. Second, it provides some ventilation and makes it easier to clean the floor in the bathrooms. The gaps on the sides are more questionable. Of course, people on the outside can't see everything going on behind the door, but still, there's not much privacy whatsoever. In most other countries, the gaps are either negligible or non-existent. So what's up with them in America?
No, at least in schools it's normal to have gaps, again in my country.
Some research. Some sources say that since every inch of material is expensive, wide gaps are made to reduce the costs of bathroom stalls.
Really?
Other sources say that when people feel exposed like this, they have fewer incentives to do something illegal in public bathrooms. Next observation, American toilets have way more water in their bowls in comparison to, for example, European ones.
You know what, I'm aware of this, but I thought this was because of the environment, that Europeans cared a bit more about the environment and so because of that less water, but I don't think that's the reason actually.
The reason is that those types of toilets use different flashing systems, and an American one needs more water to flush effectively. In many countries, especially in Asia, most bathrooms have bidets, which are used for after toilet
I have two of those in my house. Yeah. Fancy people, right?
cleaning, and tourists don't understand why Americans wouldn't adopt those too. After all, if you step in mud, you'll go and wash your foot instead of just wiping it off with a tissue. The same logic works here. Also, it reduces toilet paper usage. So it's more sustainable and it's environmentally friendly. Some say there's a strong stigma in America around bidets that is extremely hard to overcome.
Why?
Others say that toilets in the US don't have enough room to install a bidet. So they don't
Right.
have those, especially if there are...
Wait, but by the way, a bidet is not a common thing in a public, it's common to have at home. But if you go to a public place, maybe you'll find one, but it's rare. It's more like this,
other well-known ways. Before we leave the restaurant, we need to tip the waiter. Tipping in the United States is
20%,
way more
right?
common than in most other countries. You're expected to tip any service person who helped you with something. While some kind of tipping exists in some other countries, the extent of it is smaller.
So there is something that the other day I was thinking about, and I could not find a great answer. See, a lot of you guys told me that I don't need to tip if I go to McDonald's in America, right? Okay, easy. But you guys tip when it's... Because you guys told me you don't tip when it's fast food. But you tip when, for example, that gentleman ended up giving this lady the pizza. You have to tip that person, right? But pizza is also fast food.
And there are also countries like Japan and Denmark where
Maybe you tip when they so for example, if I call McDonald's to bring me the food, that I may have to tip because is the person that I'm tipping, not the ones that makes sense, right? Because of the time they spend to come to my house. But for example, if I eat pizza at Domino's is very famous, right? Or Pizza Hut. If I eat pizza there, do I still have to tip?
tipping isn't a
Sorry for so many questions, my friends, but this is actually quite important. I have nothing against the tipping culture, to be open with you. I think it's something that you guys do, and I've been working, so.
thing at all. Those countries have minimum wage laws that dictate decent wages employers must pay their workers. This way, the
Sorry, let's run it back. It's the same here in Portugal.
mark where tipping isn't a thing at all. Those countries have minimum wage laws that dictate decent wages employers must pay their workers.
Okay, to be honest, Nordic countries are some of the best countries in the world. I mean, I believe if you look at quality of life, Sweden, Denmark, Norway, they tend to appear very well ranked. When you look at Spain, Portugal is a bit different. So people that have this type of job here are not that well paid. So this is real talk, my friends.
This way, the need to pay money to service stuff isn't
maybe
pushed
they're-
onto the customers. By the way, here's one more fact about the prices. Probably the craziest thing in the States tourists have to adapt to are prices in stores. The tax isn't
the
included
tax,
into
yeah.
the displayed price
Yeah.
and is added on top while checking out. So people who are short on money can't pre-calculate the price they will have to pay to make sure that they have enough money. But really, why is it so? The main reason behind such a weird policy is transparency. This way, taxpayers know how much tax they pay and can resist raising the tax rate in case it comes on the national agenda. Also,
Honestly, I like this. I know this isn't popular to say, but here, of course, when you look at something in the store, the price is already priced in. But a lot of people, they forget they are paying taxes, honestly, and I'm talking for myself. Going there and then the government asks you for $10 more or something, I think that's good, and is something that puts in perspective a lot of your political choices, I think this is good.
it allows buyers to compare the costs of products across states fairly, since tax rates may differ. So, if the tax isn't included, you compare the actual bread costs between Alabama and Alaska, for example. In some places in America, it's not very easy to get around unless you travel by car.
Sorry. sorry. I have to say it.
In some places in America,
Beautiful
it's not very
America.
easy to get around unless you travel by car. In some regions, there's often no sidewalk taking you to the closest convenience store or a crosswalk, allowing you to cross the road right in front of the store. The main reason for that is probably the fact that the United States is a big country with vast lands and everything is spread
Yeah.
out. Neighborhoods can be scattered around, wide suburban territories quite far away from one another, so that's already far from being walking distance, and sidewalks aren't needed because, yes, no one's walking. Studies show that Spanish or Germans walk at least twice as much as Americans. But in those countries,
Yeah, Portuguese also walk a lot. Not me, but most Portuguese.
everything is way closer. And last and not least, you guessed it, the imperial system. It's based on the human body. A foot is an average foot size of a person, so you might think it's quite intuitive for anyone. Well, no. Foreigners are incredibly confused with feet, inches, gallons, and Fahrenheits, and tend to convert it all to the familiar metric system.
Honestly, I think this back in the day was a bigger problem because imagine going to America 20 years ago, the access to internet was probably not a common thing, or let's say even more, 40 years ago. And doing this type of conversions could be a bit more tricky. Nowadays, you download a app to your phone and you can do this on the spot so easy.
Well,
So for me, not a big deal, my friends.
in this sense, the British are even more confusing. Those guys use both imperial and metric systems.
Those guys.
For height, it's mostly feet and inches, but for weight, kilograms. Great Britain used to have the imperial system, but later they were forced to switch to the metric system. So now they're using a combination, whatever helps to be more precise.
That's it for today. So
Oh,
hey, if you
sending.
pacified your curiosity, then give
Well, friends, thank you so much for watching this with me. I thought this was really interesting. A lot of those videos, they tend to repeat common points, but I enjoyed this one for a couple of things. For example, when they started talking about the flags, they end up showing examples of other countries that also are proud of, are very patriotic, better saying. The ice, the guy even ended up brought in some history, same going for the huge portions. I thought this was quite amazing, my friends. So leave a like if you agree. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this with me. See you guys in the next one. Bye, my friends.